All right, good afternoon. Been a while here. Had some life things happen, and life happens. But we're back. We're talking weather, and couldn't be a quieter forecast for us. And that, in some cases, could end up being a bad thing here for folks across the state. There is some positive, though, if you're a fan of cooler weather. That is going to be on the way. So I'm just looking at this national picture here, and I like to understand like the pattern as a whole. How is everything, working? And this is a perfect example of late September, October setup here. Very little in the way of synoptic events. There's nothing of any severity. It is just darn quiet across the majority of the country. You could take off in a plane and go from one side of the U.S. to the other and not hit so much as a raindrop. Watches and warnings. I just wanted to show this map. Thought it was interesting. We got a frost advisory for the Ohio Valley, parts of the Great Lakes. How about a freeze warning for areas up in New England, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, Maine, New Hampshire? Some good foliage up there with the shorter daylight hours. So fall's coming for some. How cool those temperatures get. Let's take a look at the radar composite because some of the higher resolution models have been trying to bring in some isolated showers from North Georgia. Hasn't been catching on. There's not a lot of forcing. There's not a lot of instability. We'll watch it this afternoon. I think you'd be about as likely to win the lotteries as you would to get an isolated shower here today. So my 2 cents. I think we're dry for the next 10 days or so, which is bad news. So here's the latest drought monitor. This came out this morning. It was surveyed on the 7th. So this has everything, every bit of rain that's fallen up until October 7th. So what do we see here? We see an extreme drought for parts of Sumter, Greene, Hale, Marengo, Tuscaloosa, Bibb, Perry. That's that bullseye red. You hear extreme and you think, oh no, doom and gloom. We can wipe out a drought like this with a couple November rains. So just want to make that clear here. While it's not a good thing, this is our dry season. We tend to have our droughts this time of year, but it's not, I don't think, time to panic just yet, though your allergies might be a little bit on the fritz with all the dust, the ragweed, and everything else in the air. Okay, so just some fun side dive into this because I find this interesting. I like to give everything context. So this is a statewide map, and there's the categories. So the extreme drought, that D3, D4 category, 5% of the state is roughly thereabouts, is in that category. Last week there was only about 1%. What we're seeing though is only about 5% of the state not in some sort of drought, and it is right up there along the Tennessee River. Everywhere in Alabama is dry, the ground is crunchy, it's parched. Here's a look at some precipitation numbers, and I'm forecasting in Birmingham, so that's what I grabbed. This is a look at precipitation accumulation, rain accumulation from July 1st to October 7th when this was surveyed. So I'm looking at, I picked every year back to 2000, those same date range. How much rain did we have from July 1st through October 7th? And interestingly enough, out of those 26 years, 2025 is third driest. So we had a crazy wet spring. We set records in May. It was the second wettest in Birmingham. It was record in Fayette and in parts of Talladega. Lots of areas saw the most rain they had over the course of a month. We started the year out on a good note, but this is a perfect example of why it doesn't matter what sort of rain you get early in the year. If you have a period of dry conditions, you're going to revert back to a very dry scenario. So here's a look at just some numbers. I grabbed these, and you can see that we've got, a few of these are junk, but look at the departure from normal over the last 90 days at Demopolis. 10 inches less than what is considered normal. That is right in the middle of that bullseye. Over the last 180 days, it's really right at the end of the spring rains, a departure of almost 17 inches. So you're looking at this, and the trend is starting to kind of magnify. Look at it, Tuscaloosa there. Started the year out great. A lot of rain, and year to date, we don't have a major deficit. Some of these spots, Tuscaloosa, you have a deficit on the year of 2, but you are in that extreme drought category. So again, it's the timing of the rain. It's not the overall collective. And what this will bear watch. What will bear watching is these lake levels. So another thing, I love my numbers. This is a look at Lake Purdy levels going back to 2000. So I grabbed mid-October percentages. This is a look at how full Lake Purdy is. Of course, you got 100%, and then you got a couple years in there that are much lower. Since 2000, right now, mid-October 2025, ranks fourth among 26 as far as level, fourth lowest level for this time of year, behind 2016, 2019, and the year 2000. So again, not a panic point, but this is something we'll start to watch here as we move forward, especially when your QPF map looks like this. So the Weather Prediction Center puts these out, and this is kind of a way to visualize. Here's the average over an area for the next 7 days. It's hard to see a map like that and have any hope of legitimate rainfall. I mean, that's 1/10 of an inch trace amounts, and that's very spotty. So I think a lot of us will go 7 to 10 days without seeing any rain here in Alabama. And that has an impact on our temperatures. So I'll go to that here. Our temperatures this afternoon, 70s. They're filtering in. We got some cool air wedging coming in from the Appalachians. We're actually going to have a really nice setup this weekend for some cooler air to move in. A dry soil leads to bigger temperature fluctuations. Water is a great carrier, distributor of heat transport. It absorbs heat at the surface. When there's no water present, that heat escapes very quickly at night. It also heats up quicker during the afternoon. So we could be looking at temperatures here on pretty big swings moving forward. So let's start with our lows tonight. And some of the models calling for, mid-50s all the way down to Birmingham, 60s in Montgomery, maybe even some upper 50s across the Wiregrass. Again, this is coming in from the east, not the north. So it doesn't matter how far south you are. Our highs tomorrow, how about upper 70s? Maybe a few 80s sprinkled in there. Should feel pleasant with a dry air mass. Saturday morning, this will be the coolest morning. And some models trying to bring 40s into East Alabama there from the Talladega Mountains up to Bogan Mountain over to Gadsden, Fort Payne, and even down to Monroeville, Demopolis. I mean, it's going to be a cool morning. Again, the ground is really, really dry, and that will play an active role in this. And then Saturday afternoon, we're probably back in the upper 70s, lower 80s here. But hold on a minute. Fall doesn't stick around. So let's go to our upper air pattern. I just think this is a really cool map. It's fun to look at, analyze. So what you're seeing here Saturday, look at that big trough across the southeast. It goes all the way down to Tampa. How about that? That trough axis, just off the Tampa coastline, off Tampa Bay there. But notice back there just south of the Rio Grande, north central, right over the the Mexican plateau, you got another ridge beginning to build. And as this trough departs, this ridge is going to shift east. And as it does so, this is going to mean the return of warm temperatures. Remember, this is an atmospheric height map and upper air winds at 500 millibars. So you're talking, 17, 18,000 feet. And when you see those oranges, that's a warm air mass beneath there, higher atmospheric heights. It's that time of year where you expect these numbers to go down. But that's a pretty warm air mass over southern Texas. We will not be under the bullseye of it, but it is going to warm up next week. I do think we'll have mid-80s. I do think at times we will have some upper 80s. So short-lived taste of cool air. Enjoy it. Temp outlook. How about that? That goes through the 23rd of October. So maybe some promise that by Halloween we'll be cooling down. But it's October will sometimes cling to the heat. I remember 2016 being one of those years where it just stayed hot. But almost every year in Alabama, by the time we get to Halloween, the heat has backed off to some extent. So we'll wait to see if that's the case. Speaking of backing off, the tropics could be winding down. NHC outlook, pretty clear here this afternoon. And there's a look at the IR. And you can see really one feature, and it's not a very healthy one. This is Tropical Storm Jerry now, dealing with what it looks to be some wind shear, non-favorable environment. The center, a lot of bubbling convection on the north side. There's not a very balanced convection around a center, but we do expect this to intensify here over the next couple of days and move away from land. It's brushing the Leeward Islands as we speak. By tomorrow, midday, this will have pulled away from land, and this will probably still stay well to the east of Bermuda and not be any concern to any land. So, when can we be done? This is a look at our tropical activity. So what this is showing us is the peak time of year versus when it begins to wind down. I did some digging. So there's been 309 hurricanes to make U.S. landfall on record. 21 of those have happened combined collectively in October and November. It's about 7% of all landfalling hurricanes. So we are at the tail end. But we'll caution you, just a few years ago, we had Zeta. We had, what was the other one? Iota, maybe. There was another Greek letter. Two of them made landfall in October. And then, of course, we had Hurricane Michael, which we all remember that. I was in Dothan at the time for that. Cat 5 on October 10th of 2018. One that we will likely not forget, especially folks down along the coast. So all that to say, I think we're winding down. I think we're close to being out of the woods. Could we still have something develop? Sure. The pattern does not favor it. Synoptically, it doesn't look ideal right now, but as always, we'll keep a close eye on it. Good to be back. Let's look at your discussion on this very quiet Thursday afternoon. Enjoy the cooler air. See you next time.